are a few minutes early just to check things that they're working. And are they?
Hopefully, I think.
Let's see. Oh yeah, it is working.
Yeah,
And
great.
just start a bit later. Cool.
We're in luck then.
Yes. Hello everyone. If there is anyone just yet already, um, we're testing out a bit early because this is our first LinkedIn Live, and we want to make it right because technicals are always an issue.
Every time.
Yes. How's everyone doing?
I think that's like the amount of view.
Yeah.
I think.
Viewers, there are two here, but that might be you and me.
Of course it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, remember that all of this is being recorded and it's going to be on your profile. So
Yeah.
whatever you say will be there forever on the internet.
So no weird jokes now.
No, we can make jokes. I think we can make jokes.
Yeah.
So
Our jokes are great.
all right. As you can see, we're a little nervous, but everything's working correctly. Awesome. Welcome everyone. We are waiting for a couple of more minutes to start off. Hope your day is going great. If anyone is listening there, I have a question for you. Have you ever done a video interview? Have you ever conducted one? Or have you ever gone through one as a candidate? If you have, let us know.
Yeah. And of course, we want to know what you thought about the experience as a part of the recruitment process as well. And all feedback is welcomed.
Was it an extra step, extra necessary step, or did it actually make it easier? Because one thing that I really hate about some recruitments is when you send them a CV and they accept it, and then you need to fill out a form that's at least 5 pages asking the exact same information you put in CV on which you spent at least 2 hours. That bugs me so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Especially like filling in forms, endless forms, like using countless
essay
hours.
type of answers and questions. Those are annoying.
Yeah, and it's the same thing over again for every job position you apply for.
I don't understand the logic there. Imagine they have hundreds of candidates. Do they have to read through hundreds of essays? Do they actually read through them? And if not, then what's the point?
Yeah, that's a great question actually. Like I think they're gonna like say that they read all of them through completely, but I'm not so quite sure of it because you only have a limited amount of time a week. So
yeah, well, I think it's almost time, and we can start introducing ourselves. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our AMA, Ask Us Anything. I know abbreviation is not as accurate as it sounds, about video interviews. My name is Roman. I'm a growth marketer at RecRide. Together with me today is Janne. He works in enterprise sales, and he's the go-to expert when it comes to video interviews. Why? Because that's what our company does.
yeah, that's true. And I've been here for some time as well. So
yes, you've been here for how long?
Approximately 5 years, probably.
Yeah, and you've gone through customer care, customer success journey, and now you're in sales. So you know a lot about what customers need, what they talk about, and the insights that they bring.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, that's basically it. So I've seen like how our customer uses our great software, as well as how the candidates themselves are using our tool, and what kind of like questions or thoughts they have about it in overall.
And I like to think that I bring fresh perspective from the candidate side of view, because just over a year ago, I was a candidate myself. I went through all kinds of recruitments, which, well, majority of which sucked pretty much. Almost nobody is using video interview from the ones that I tried. And when I actually stumbled upon RecRide and went through video interviews, I was wondering why those companies did not. use them, because it saved me a bunch of time. And once I learned about how to use it, it actually saves a bunch of time for the recruiters as well. But if there are no questions just yet, we have some prepped ones. And the first one that a lot of people ask us, and especially our salespeople, is why recruiters are even investing in video interview software. What are the benefits of it, and why?
Yeah, and that's a very common question, that why should we use video interviews, or how do your existing customers use video interviews, or why they're using it. Well, basically, like the first thing that always comes to mind is the efficiency and the time saving that you will be able to achieve by using pre-recorded video interviews. So as well, that's the most common topic, but as well as that, you can use the employer branding options here. You have the ability to show your company culture, tell about your company more broadly, and usually it's a good idea also to include specific job descriptions in the welcome video as well, so the applicant will know what they're applying for.
Yeah. So especially when it comes to company culture, that's a really good way to communicate through the videos. Because you look at bigger brands like Nike and Google, and they have those beautiful employer branding videos that are all over social media. You can use the tool that we have to put those videos in there, and if the candidate is not aware of your business, you can educate them about the culture, about the employee advocacy programs if you have, and all of that. And also it makes you stand out, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a bit of a more modern approach to recruitment in general, because as we discussed, the CVs are getting a little outdated, but then filling out the long forms after that, it's straight up annoying. I have not met a single person that enjoyed that.
Yeah, me neither. And personally, I haven't enjoyed writing CVs or cover letters ever.
I might have liked writing essays in high school, but not anymore.
Yeah.
Because as a candidate applying for jobs, at some point it becomes a full-time job of its own. You apply to multiple places because obviously you need a job, and you might be desperate, or even if you're picky, you spend quite some time fixing your CV and fixing your application. And then if there is some kind of software that helps make this recruitment much faster and more efficient for everyone, well, why not use it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially I've found one customer told me the greatest benefit for them is to have the recruitment process more simple. So
Yes.
it's easy to apply for their company and very straightforward about the timetable as well.
And we have a question here from Emil. What do you see are the benefits of video interviews for the applicant? Well, I can tell you straight away, the way you respond to them is very, very flexible. The ones I went through myself were pre-recorded video interviews, and what that meant is I could reply to them at any point of my free time. I didn't have the pressure of getting into the call with what I thought was one recruiter, but ended up to be 5 people team. I will choose my own setting. I will choose my own time according to my own busy schedule, because I'm applying to all the jobs, and just make my stress levels much lower. That would be the main benefit for the candidates also.
Yeah. I think you covered the main points, but I would like to know your opinion. How did it feel to come to the office for a live interview after conducting the video interview? Was it less stressful and easier?
Yeah, I felt like I knew the team a little bit already, because in my case, at least, I had one team member from the marketing team where I'm working record one question each. So I kind of got to know them a little bit through those video questions. When I came to the office, we would refer to it, and
Yeah.
just make one of the questions was, "What is your spirit animal?" Kind of like an icebreaker, and that was a great conversation starter when I came here. So
Yeah.
it definitely helps.
So now I'm interested. What was your answer?
It's a cat.
Great choice.
Yes. I like sleeping, and if you give me too much free time, I will be a couch potato, or well, a cat in this case.
Yeah. Sounds great.
But how does the approach to candidate screening really needs to change? how do recruiters need to approach it besides just using our tool? There's obviously more to that.
Absolutely.
What are the best practices for it?
Well, the reason why the approach needs to change is because the world is changing constantly all the time, and it's very time consuming to go through endless candidate cover letters and CVs. They're still really useful, especially for like certain kind of jobs where you have specific requirements of like education or work experience. But when you have like a good set of candidates, like 5 to 10 great candidates who all will like meet the required qualifications, how will you choose between them? Who's the best one? You'll have to interview each and every one of them. So it's going to take you at least like 5 hours at least. But using like pre-recorded video interviews, you can do that like in half an hour or so.
And we need to stress here for any recruiters or HR people that are listening to that, or even candidates. I had questions coming from them. Pre-recorded video interviews do not just add an extra step and make your recruitment longer, and they do not replace live interviews, right? If anything, they're designed to help screen the big volumes of candidates at the beginning more efficiently. So imagine you have you're applying for being a paid media specialist. You need to run ads. It's a very specific job, and there is a very specific set of skills that you need for it. But you might get a bunch of applications from data analysts or just students applying for anything, and you really don't want to spend time going on live interviews with everyone because you're wasting yours and theirs time. Pre-recorded helps you understand it from the video answers right away.
Yeah.
And then you go to live interviews with the candidates that actually match the criteria more or less.
Yeah. And it also makes your whole recruitment process a lot faster as well, because you can invite as soon as you receive the application, you can invite them to a video interview, which will be sent through email. So you don't have to like call them up and schedule interview time or make notes for your colleagues as well. You can just like share the answers to your colleagues.
Yes, I think we have another question from Juan. What kind of roles, seniority, title, you think video interviews will bring most value? I think that's a question for you.
Yeah, I think so. And thanks for the question. That's a really good question as well. It's pretty interesting to notice, like during meetings with our existing customer or prospects as well, that they all have their own vision on what kind of jobs this is suitable for. So some people are saying this is a great tool for more senior roles because we want to hire people who are building our company culture. So we want to be sure that the persona is right. And then again, we have some customers who are saying, okay, this is not good for senior positions, just for like entry-level jobs or blue-collar jobs for like simple tasks. And that's not true. It's about how you build up the setup of the video interview. How many questions? What do you ask? Do you ask for like, do you want to know about their language skills or more about their technical skills where they like tell with their own words how they would like do a certain kind of like job during normal hours? So
do you have examples of our current customers that are really benefiting from it in terms of seniority and title?
Yeah, well, most of our customers are actually like at least hiring some senior managers through video recruitment. So I would say like basically 80% of our customers are hiring senior managers through video interviews as well. Because they want to like put a more effort in it and find the best person for the job who's really motivated for it.
Then I think the reverse question that will help answer Juan's ones is, are there any titles or industries that do not work with video interviews? Are there any specific cases where, using video interviews just doesn't make sense?
Yes, of course. And we want to be like quite like straightforward with it. And we have some customers who have like a broad spectrum of like different kind of jobs and job descriptions. And there are certain kind of jobs that you might have like only 2 people in the whole country or even like just a handful of people in the whole world who are qualified for that job. Then you'll have to like interview each and every one of them. Yeah, but those are not that common because if it's just like a specific role, but you have like potential candidate, a lot of potential candidates, it's going to be a great tool for it as well.
Okay. Juan, did we answer your question? Let us know in the chat. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to leave them as well. All right. Well, another thing that people ask us a lot is, do video interviews, increase the bias in recruitment? Because there's a lot of bias, whether it's based on language requirements or your background, seniority, or experience. Yes, perfect. Thanks, Juan. There's a question: does it increase the bias? Does it increase the inequality? Well, my opinion, at least, is that video interviews actually help with transparency and they help with inclusion for one simple reason. When you send the pre-recorded video interview questions, you pre-record them in your own setting just once. And the candidates get the same questions, the same setup, the same format, and there is no room for you to adjust your questions a little bit to one person or another, which can lead to potential unconscious bias.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct in that sense. And there's some additional things as well that comes to mind. And one thing is the inclusion of your whole team as well, because it's not only one person listening to the answers or making notes for everybody else to read through. It's more about that each and every one of the recruitment team will make up their own opinion of the candidate and then share notes with each other and evaluate.
Very important, because in a lot of companies, it's just one recruiter or hiring manager taking care of getting this new person on board or looking for that particular role. So that person, if you the more volume in terms of candidates you have, the more work you have, the more you get tired. That can lead to bias. But if you get a second, third, fifth, however many more teammates you get opinions, that decreases the chances of accidentally choosing a person based on cultural background or because we look the same, or there is a bunch of biases. And speaking of biases, I'm going to use this moment. 15th of June, we're going to have webinar with Linia Gual. I hope I'm not butchering her name, from Alva Labs, and we're going to be talking about hiring biases and how to deal with them. Yes, promotion. Back to you.
Yeah. And I could add one more thing on the topic we're talking about, the bias, because a lot of companies are still conducting first round interviews through their telephones, and they're calling up people or asking some certain questions or booking times for a live interview. And I had one customer who was resonating around it, I wonder how it affects the candidate's participation or answering by the time when she's calling them. How is her energy, and is it a Monday morning or Friday afternoon, and where's the candidate located at the moment? Are they at work at the time?
That's where another bias comes in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can be more energetic in the morning or more energetic in a particular part of the day, and if you're caught in the wrong moment, then even though you're very qualified, it was just not your moment. You might not get the job.
Yeah, absolutely. So our pre-recorded video interviews offers you a great opportunity to offer the candidate more flexibility in answering, so they will ensure that they have the time to answer all the questions really thoroughly, and it will always be in the same way.
Do we have another question? From Denise? All right.
Yeah, thank you for your question.
Could you tell us the pros and cons about video interviews and face-to-face interviews? And if you think that video interviews are the next thing, why? Well, I could tell you that there are definitely pros and cons to both. The best way to really use them is to use them together, because I have to emphasize, in the ideal environment of your recruitment, you use pre-recorded video interviews at the beginning to sort through the noise, which sounds bad, right? But sort through unfit candidates, and then funnel them down to a few better fit candidates, and then use live and face-to-face interviews. But more on the question.
Yeah, of course. I think mostly the same as you, because it's not exclusive of each other. it's part of the same process, but with different kind of perspectives more. And like using pre-recorded video interviews in the beginning of the recruitment process will also improve the human interaction at a later stage in the live interview, because you're already familiar with their face and their voice, and you know a little bit like base information maybe about them, the company, the job.
Are there any cons to using pre-recorded video interviews?
Well, they're more like very individual specific. If you dislike being on video or using technology, there might be like cons regarding to that. But usually it's more about like taking the first step and start recording the first answer.
Right.
And after that, all like the anxiety goes away and they feel like, oh, this is so great. I didn't have to like travel 1 hour to their office for a live interview. I could just like do it from the comfort of my sofa.
And it all comes to communication between the recruiter
Yes,
and candidate.
absolutely.
Because you can use the tool again, but you can still mess up how you use it. And actually, the cons will probably be from lack of communication, and it will be felt most by the candidates. Because I talked to a lot of friends of mine, they went through some of those interviews, and they felt, some of them are perfectionists. So they're going to be re-recording their video answers until they get perfect, which is never perfect, and you really need to just try it twice and it should be good enough. If that was communicated in a job ad, maybe they wouldn't struggle with it. We don't know. Some people feel that it's less personal, and they don't know that pre-recorded video interviews are not just the first step. They think you go through that and then you possibly get a job. No, after that, you are going to have live video interview or face-to-face interview. You're going to get to talk to recruiter. They're just using it for initial screening. This is not always communicated either. So that could be a con, but really it all comes down to recruiter communicating these things to the candidate.
Yeah, and like those are like the biggest cons of using pre-recorded video interviews. However, it's been nice to notice that our customers are taking this very seriously and they want to have the great communication through the whole process.
What about face-to-face interviews? What are the pros and cons of that?
Yeah, well, the pros is, of course, that you can go with the flow kind of a lot, because you can listen and evaluate the answers like in real time and then just have a follow-up question as well. But maybe the cons of like live interviews would be, or without pre-recorded video interviews, like the nervousness and that you don't, or especially like, I would say it's about time management as well, because usually the like candidate and also the interviewer, they probably gonna know like, is this the right like job for me, or is this the right candidate during like the first 5 minutes of the meeting. So
and then you're forced to stay there for another hour knowing that it might not be your thing. It kind of is eliminated if you do a bit more pre-screening with the pre-recorded. But to add to your question as well, when it comes to face-to-face interviews, for example, the whole commuting part is it's annoying, to be honest. Maybe it's just me, but since the pandemic, we also were not able to travel. I have realized that I like working from home and I don't like commuting that much. So if someone told me I need to go to their office, which is like an hour away, and I'm not 100% sure about the job role, and also bear in mind there is competition, so you might not get it after all this effort. It doesn't feel as rewarding, right? Whatever the outcome is. And also, you had a question: if you think that video interviews are the next thing, yeah,
it is.
I think before the pandemic, it was rising a little bit in demand. But once the pandemic hit, that was a sweet spot for developing digital tools in recruitment. And everyone's using Zoom and Teams, right? Everyone is starting to use pre-recorded video interview tools.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
I could add one thing why it's going to be the next big thing, and especially the pre-recorded ones. And it's about the flexibility that it offers for the recruiter and as well as the candidate. You save time and you don't have to like travel as much. And that's the flexibility. That's like the main point that I think that's the key factor that's driving the change now.
Yeah, and in terms of time savings, if you're a candidate, it's kind of obvious. You just record it and you don't spend time filling out the forms. For recruiters, if you screen 50 candidates, if you have 50 people applying for a job, through traditional recruitment, you could spend as much as 14, 15 hours to get to that desired person. With the pre-recorded, it might be as much as 6. So from 14 to 6 hours, that's more. That's less than twice of that, right? My math is correct, right? Yeah. So I hope this answers your questions, Dennis. Thank you so much. If you have any more, feel free to ask. What else do we got? Do you have any tips on using video interviews? The best
Yeah.
practices, because again, it's just a small part of the recruitment, but everything around kind of makes it more efficient.
Yep. I especially like the first thing I want to mention is going to be about the question themselves. If it's possible, do not use text questions. Why? It's not building on your employer branding, and it doesn't improve the candidate experience. Because think about the similarities about filling a form or just like answering some text questions with a video. It doesn't feel like personal or very like, it doesn't feel nice. So if you have the possibility, include video questions and also include your team. And if possible, you can also like show up your office or the place of work.
That's where the company culture comes in.
Yeah, especially, and it feels like so nice that you can like get to know where you're gonna work, the people you're gonna work with, and then like early stage, you're gonna be highly motivated to get that job.
Yeah, that's what basically happened to me. All the team members, my current colleagues, they recorded video questions, so I got to know their faces. And when I came to the office, I knew like, oh, you're Sai, you're Tillman. So it was the barrier to communication was much lower. The text just doesn't cut it.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one would be that have like great questions like that are role specific as well, that you're gonna like get to, so that you get like the information that you are looking for. So have like 3 to 5 questions per video interview. Don't put it like 15 questions. That's a lot, and it doesn't improve the candidate experience.
Time efficiency goes down there.
Yeah, and the simplicity as well. And additionally, I like to recommend also asking only one question per video. So it's really clear for the candidate what is asked of the candidate, as well as for the recruiter when they're evaluating the candidate's answer. They know what it's about in the answer. For example, if they have like 3 questions in one video, how do they know that in which part they're answering like a specific thing? Okay, usually it's not a big issue, but sometimes it might be.
Might be, yeah. Is there any tips on how long the answer should be or how long the question should be? Because I know some recruiters might be tempted to ask a bunch of things and make it unlimited and kind of give space. Again, that reduces the efficiency. What's your take on that?
Well, it's really dependent on the role as well as the questions itself, but usually I recommend keeping them quite simple so they're easy to understand. As well as we usually recommend about like 1 minute to 2 minute answer time per question. So you really reap the benefits of the time savings as well there, because if somebody's answering with like 7 minutes per question, it's gonna take like an hour to like look through 5 answers. So
yeah, because ideally you want to spend no more than 10 minutes going through each person's recorded answers.
Yeah, well, correct? Yeah,
5 to 10.
Usually about 5 minutes, because
5 minutes,
and then you have like a few minutes to evaluate the candidate. So
imagine you spend just 5 minutes going through someone's answers, and you know clearly whether that person is worth being moved to live interviews or face-to-face interviews.
Yeah, and I would like put my approximation of, if you have like 5 questions and you have asked for 1 minute answer each, it's gonna take you 7 minutes to evaluate the candidate. 5 minutes for the answers, 2 minutes for the evaluations.
Yeah. We have a great calculator on our website, on our pricing page that you can check out. It allows you to calculate how much time and how much money you will save based on the volume per candidates. And what else was there?
Yeah, well, it's basically like you can make different kind of options like that's suitable for your recruitment. So it takes into account like many like specific things.
Yeah, so based on your own specifications, you can calculate how much it will actually benefit you. Check it out and well, let us know if it ever helps. Another thing that a lot of people might not know when it comes to recording questions for the candidates is the employer branding part. We already mentioned company cultures, but there are two simple things that you should add every time to make it more personal, actually, to make it more personal. And those are the welcome and the thank you videos,
Yes.
which don't have to be long.
Yeah, they're actually really important. So, like in the beginning of the interview, it's a great idea to include a welcome video there, where you just like tell the candidate, "Hey, happy to have you answering these questions, and good luck for the video interview." And so, just like overall, like instructions, maybe about the answer length, like please keep your answers under 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah. Just general instructions. Again, the communication between recruiter and candidate is very important here. And there is also a thank you one. It's a small thing, it's small effort, but in my experience, small effort is always appreciated. You thank them for submitting their answers, and you tell maybe you can let them know how you're going to get back to them.
Yeah, that's a candidate favorite actually.
Yeah.
To know a little bit more about the timetable and how the
Exactly.
process will proceed as well.
Exactly. If the candidate knows exactly what are the stages you're going through, and then also at the end of the pre-recorded questions, you know how you're gonna get to the next stage, whether that's through email, phone, LinkedIn DM, that helps a lot.
Yeah, and I also want to add one thing here as well, that you can actually send video messages through RecWrite. So you can also ask the candidate to respond to that question as well. So that's also a possibility, and you could also just like use it for video communication and let them know that you're proceeding in the process as well.
Yeah. We have also a lot of questions about misconceptions, and there are a lot because this is fairly new technology that is being used in many companies, but not all yet. And I think the first one is, why use RecWrite when we're using Zoom, we're using Teams, we're using Google Meet? It's video interviews already.
Yeah.
What do you have to say for that?
Yeah, well, basically, as we already like established in the beginning with the live interviews versus pre-recorded video interviews, it's basically part of the same process, but we are mostly in the beginning in the screening phase to let you get know the candidate better and their persona and their maybe like some other skills as well. But Teams is more like instead of a live meeting at the office, when RecWrite is more like about the start of the process. So it's like in the same sense, like the pre-recorded video interviews building for the live meeting.
Yeah, you would want to save Zoom and Google Meets or whatever you use to the later stages when you can actually involve the rest of the team or other hiring managers in your company that contributed to pre-recorded video interviews, and involve them, invite them, and chat with the candidate and get the questions from the candidates as much as possible.
Yeah, and as in the live meetings as well, the Teams or Zoom meetings, they're like time specific. So you'll have to be online. The candidate has to be online at the same time.
Ooh, scheduling is such a headache.
Yeah, it is.
Scheduling is a massive headache because also the more people you get,
yeah,
the harder it is to find that sweet spot.
Yeah, and especially like if you have multiple recruiters like participating in the interviews, it's gonna take a lot of scheduling, and as well, if there's only one person interviewing, they're gonna make some notes, share the notes instead of going back to the video answers and hey, I have these notes from the live meeting, but here's the video answers. You can get to know the candidate by yourself, which is really great.
Another thing that people always say is that, well, we kind of covered it, that video interviews make it more complex.
Yeah.
Again, just briefly, it does not. It makes it's an extra step, but it reduces the rest of the volume. It reduces the screening volume. And it makes the rest of the recruitment stages much easier. And a lot of people will say, it's probably for only mass recruiting because we're talking about high volumes and high amount of candidates for screening. But we have quite a few cases of companies using it for 10 candidates or 20 candidates, which is not a huge amount.
Yeah, but still 10 candidates, if you're gonna invite them for a interview,
Yeah.
it's still gonna take like almost 10 hours. So
You might be a smaller company where you don't have a dedicated talent acquisition or HR person. So even if it's just 10 candidates, going through each one of them through live video interviews, through face to face, or scheduling, it takes a lot of time. If you can reduce it to even 8 to 5 or wherever it is, it helps you a lot. You save time, you save money, it's a win win for everyone.
yeah, another aspect, actually one of my favorites as well, is that if you're recruiting like for a specific role and there's not like a lot of like applicants in your area, video or pre-recorded video interviews enables you to broaden your search area, and you can like get applications from across the country as well, from people who are ready to relocate, but they wouldn't like apply
Yeah.
for the job if it wouldn't be conducted through a video interview.
Yeah, nowadays a lot of people are hiring remotely. We have another
Absolutely.
question from Denise. When he made it to the face-to-face interview, what would you think is it a bad habit that the candidate brings certificates and other kind of paper?
Well, I would say it really depends.
Depends on the role, I
Yeah,
would say. What are the
absolutely.
requirements? But certificates and kind of paper, I don't know because it's probably taken care of in the initial
Yeah, it usually
stage.
does, and actually, like through Recred, you have the possibility to upload also attachments to the
Mm.
video interview, so you can like attach all the proof of your like.
So the recruiter can check your video answers and
Yeah,
your
yeah,
CV at the
and we
same time.
actually have I have like a customer who's using like in the beginning of the interview telling about the specifications for the work, so what kind of like certificates you need, and then the candidate will like just like
Mm.
have a short answer and tell like, hey, I watched through the video and I have all these certificates and I can bring them with me
Mm.
to the live interview at a later stage if needed.
I could tell you, Denise, that it doesn't hurt to bring your papers just in case. You don't need to show them right away if they don't ask. But if they do ask, then you know you got papers. So if you feel like it might benefit for you, then bring it. But usually it's
Yeah,
screened at the
yeah,
beginning. Just make sure to attach it with your video questions so they know in advance what to look at.
yeah. And also, it's partly also on like the recruiter's responsibility to make sure that the candidate knows which certificates is needed.
Yeah, again, all about communication, right? I hope we answered your questions. Um, what else we got? Oh yeah, the big one, the big misconception about video interviews is that it's not for tech jobs. It's for mass hiring for regular workers. But as far as I know, it's not very true.
Yeah, absolutely
And
not.
can you also give examples of the type of tech jobs that our companies hire for?
Yeah, well, basically, when you have like over 500 customers, you're gonna always like find some customer who's recruiting for a certain kind of
Mm.
role. But we're also seeing the evolvement on like for developers that they're looking for developers through pre-recorded video
Mm.
interviews, as like they usually have like an extensive possibility for remote work, which is really great, I think. And why would they have to come to a live interview straight away
Yeah.
when they're gonna mostly work remotely as well?
Yeah, I think developers appreciate doing everything remotely because that's pretty much their job. They don't need to be present physically anywhere, and they can still do their job extremely well.
Yeah, and another aspect is here is also that developers are usually like when they're working remotely, they can be located in a different country. So through our great tool, you can
Mm.
recruit remotely, like abroad as well, by choosing a different time zone, different language as well.
Yeah.
And you can also test like the developer's basic skills about asking, like, hey, we have like this task. This will be a common task you will do during your work days. So tell us in your own words, how would you solve this problem? And you can also include like if it's a specific like requirement of like English, you can like ask the candidate always to respond in English, so you will know also their language skills as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Language skills is a big one,
It's a big
uh,
one. Yeah,
especially if it's specific to your role, like regional manager or regional marketer, or well, just for the company culture.
yeah, absolutely.
What else we got? I think some people. I think we covered it. But
Most
again, in
parts.
terms of hiring for senior roles, um, can you use pre-recorded for that?
Yeah, I think we covered it a little bit like earlier as well, but of course you can because most customers tell me like senior managers are one of like the most important
Hmm.
like people in the company, as their like day-to-day work includes like guiding and overseeing like all the employees under them, and they will be responsible for building company culture and taking
Yeah,
like the to a next level. And
they really want to make sure that you're hiring the right person.
yeah, you want to know like it that it's a person that has the same values as your company as well.
Yeah, and that's where you need to keep in mind the whole inclusivity and bias in mind a lot, because senior professionals, they have all kinds of experience, right? You might have something in common with that person, and if you go through only face to face or only a phone interview, there is bias created because you got connections that are mutual, you got background that is mutual, and then you end up hiring the person and it might not be the best fit.
Yeah.
To reduce that possibility, and I'm not saying that the other candidates are definitely better, but to reduce that possibility, pre-recorded helps quite a bit. As someone,
Ooh,
I talk.
yeah. Can I add one
Sure,
thing here?
sure.
It was quite interesting actually that talking about the senior managers, one of our customers actually told me that it's really important to use for, or at least for them to use pre-recorded video interviews, because it's quite hard to find like the even like candidates for those kind of positions then,
Hmm.
because all the possible candidates are already like working at some other companies, so
Hmm.
they can't answer their phone during work hours.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they only have the possibility to answer or participate in these kind of activities during like their free time during the evenings.
Yeah.
So they have like it's super convenient for them. Like after they work there or before they start work someday, they
Mhm.
take 20 minutes to answer 3 to 5 questions.
Yeah, it's convenient for everyone, really. I was gonna add something. Oh yeah, someone told me recently that to really reduce that bias and make it convenient, recruitment needs to eliminate the human element, because
Hmm.
humans are the ones bringing the bias. Now that's probably not going to be eliminated completely, but you can reduce it uh, through using tech,
Yeah,
like ours.
yeah, and especially because you have the possibility to go back to the video answers, which will be
Hmm.
saved.
Yeah, it's all recorded. That's another great thing. On the live interviews, while you need to ask permission to record it, it might not always be the case. With pre-recorded, well, the name speaks for itself. You have the database of all the answers and how person reacts to certain questions.
Yeah,
That might play a big role in your decision.
yeah, absolutely.
I think we've gone through a lot of stuff. Do we have anything we missed out? And please, everyone who is listening, if you got any questions, got any comments, remarks on this live, something that we could do better, please let us know. We'd love to hear your input. Oh, wow, that's a big one.
Yeah, it's where the moment when Ron is reading through.
Let's bring it up so everyone can read it
Yeah, great.
and it doesn't all display. Okay, well, I'll read it all. Great chat. Just want to add one of the biggest pros of pre-recorded video interviews for a candidate. If you get to be invited to a pre-recorded video interview, consider yourself a lucky one. Why? Because you likely, and I'm gonna continue reading from here. Why? Because you likely increase your chances of moving forward in the recruitment process, as the recruiters can see who you are as a person, your potential, and your attitude, which are not actually possible to spot from the CV or the cover letter. Qualities that are some and more important nowadays. That's a good point, because CV only tells you about the background, but not about your personality. And some people would start talking about culture fit, but how can you find the culture fit for your company culture if you only read the CV? Like there is no. I love flamingos, and I'm never gonna include that on CVs. I'm not gonna mention because it's just weird, right? You'll only find it out if we have a video interview.
Yeah.
Hopefully pre-recorded.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a funny thing that was mentioned that the recruiter gets to know the candidate really well, like in the beginning. But I think it's more of a two-way street, actually, because
True.
when you conduct like or build a video interview properly, you as a company has a great opportunity to offer something for the candidates as well.
It's a two-way street.
It's a two-way street, and actually read from this big like newspaper in Finland, Helsingin Sanomat, that in many recruitments, the candidates are not actually sure what they're exactly applying for, because like the job title might be the same, but your role is going to be different depending on the company.
Yeah, it all again is about communication. Job ad is the very first touch point, one of, and if you missed some information to include in your tasks that you will be doing or responsibilities, areas of responsibilities, that's something that you can clarify in pre-recorded. It helps a lot, because also at the end of the day, nowadays, it's not recruiters hunting for talent, or how will I put it? It's not candidates in a lot of cases being super desperate and looking for the jobs. It's the recruiters who are trying to attract the candidates, because candidates are becoming more picky. They're becoming more empowered to what they want, what they need, the benefits that you provide. And I'm not talking about coffee machine. I'm talking about the actual vacations, healthcare benefits, and all of that. They're more demanding, and you need to adapt to those changes without using phone screening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there it comes again. Communication and transparency, those are super important.
Maybe our tool should be a communication tool.
Yeah,
We
well,
should
it is.
position ourselves on that.
Yeah.
Helps with the communication. Any more questions, anyone? Because if not, I think we can start wrapping this up.
Yeah. And if you have like any kind of feedback, you could also, if you don't want to post it here, you can also like private message me or Roman about it. And we will answer you as soon as possible.
This video is going to be forever on the internet.
Yeah.
There's literally no way Yannick can delete that. Actually, we tried with the tests. So you can watch through it again, and if you have any questions, please reach out to our amazing salesperson and me if you'd like. I'll redirect you to our amazing salesperson.
Yeah.
Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and we'll see you in the next event.
Thank you, and see you again.